Samhain, the ancient new year, is upon us. The veil is thin, and in the deepening darkness, the whispers of the unseen can be heard. This is a powerful and auspicious occasion for connecting to ancestors and ancient allies, for reflecting on what's been and setting intentions for what's to come. In this video, we will explore some Samhain nature connection and reflection practices. We will turn towards two rooted allies, the tree of the ancestors, the yew tree, and the tree that is the doorway to the other world, the apple tree. Both of these are steeped in myth and timeless mystery. We'll also allow nature to be our mirror at this threshold between years. We will explore how we can honor the ancestors and use the wheel of the year to reflect on the year that is drawing to a close, as we also look forward. So we begin by connecting with the yew tree, the tree of the ancestors, the tree of transformation and rebirth. Now, yew trees are considered the tree of the ancestors for several reasons. They are themselves ancient ancestors. Fossil remains have been found of yew trees dating back to the Jurassic era 250 million years ago. And this is really humbling because humans have only been evolving for 6 million years and Homo sapiens for about 300,000. Yews are also the tree of the ancestors because each one can live up to 4,000 or 5,000 years, meaning their memory spans all of known human history, and many have survived the great ice ages. So how do yew trees live so long? As a survival instinct, yew trees hollow out their trunks, and then the dead leaves fall inside of that hollow. They decompose and create fertile soil within the heart of the tree. They then send a taproot down into the central soil and grow a new trunk from within. By doing their inner work, they can be reborn again and again, indefinitely. This is why the people of old called the yew tree the tree of eternity or the tree of immortality, which is perhaps a little ironic seeing as nearly every part of the yew tree is poisonous. So to be safe, you should never burn or eat anything from a yew tree. Now, because of the yew's ability to regenerate itself, the ancient people saw the yew tree as a tree of death and rebirth, the end of one cycle and the beginning of another, hence its connection with Samhain, the new year, when one ends and another begins. And this is also why the yew tree, this idea of death and rebirth, is linked, and this particularly the age that yew trees can live to is why they are connected with the Caliac, the archetypal crone of Samhain and of winter, because she too is as old as time itself. Now, due to their age, ancient yews can offer us a link back to the past, a bridge back to the past, and serve as guardians and gateways to the wisdom of the ancestors. Yews were traditionally planted at burial mounds and sacred sites, and tribal chiefs were buried beneath them so that their wisdom would merge with the roots of the yew tree and with the wisdom of the yew tree, and then the tribe could communicate with that past chief by communing with the living yew. Early Christians often built churches on older sacred sites, hence why you'll often find yew trees in churchyards today. And for our first Samhain nature connection practice, I encourage you to seek out one of these yew trees and spend time with it during this Samhain season. And if you can, visit an ancient yew tree, and I'll share a link below so that you can find your nearest ancient yew tree. And I encourage you to go to the yew tree and to bring offerings to it, offerings of song or of spring water or of food. Or you might like to decorate the ground around the tree with fallen leaves, with feathers and stones. You can make land art with it. Whatever feels like an offering from you to the yew. And then open to its ancient presence and offer your presence. Listen deeply and connect with all it might have witnessed in its long, long life. Feel the wisdom woven in its roots and its branches. To spend time with a yew tree is to be with one of the earth's great elders. They are immense shrines of remembering, and spending time with them is a powerful practice for these mystical Samhain days. Now, knowing a yew tree's immense age and its power to poison can remind us of the relative impermanence of our own lives, whereas their ability to regenerate can remind us that we are constantly being reborn. Just as each new year grows from the old, each new part of us is born from who we were. When we tend to the soil in our own hearts, at our own core, we too can regenerate. Now, I also encourage you to visit an apple tree this Samhain. And these were believed to be the doorways to the other world. And at this time, when the veil between this world and the next is particularly thin, it's a really potent time to attune to the apple tree. In ancient lore, the apple tree represented and apples represented the Earth Mother and her abundance. And when cut in half horizontally, apples reveal a 5-pointed star, which is a symbol of the goddess. Now, apples were believed to be sacred and magical, and as such, they were called the food of the gods and the food of the dead, which is why they were buried at this time of year as offerings to the dead. So this may be something you'd like to do to honour your dead or the dead of the land on which you stand. You can bury apples and draw them to mind and to heart. Now, because apples were seen as sacred fruits to the other world, of the other world, they were used in divination. People would peel apples and then throw the peel, and whatever shape the peel took on would show the answer to the question that was asked of the apple. People also bobbed for apples, and this tradition obviously lives on in Samhain traditions, which are derived, lives on in Halloween traditions, which are derived from Samhain traditions, which came before Halloween. And so in this old tradition, the first person in the bobbing to bite an apple was believed, it was believed that they would be the first to receive good fortune in the coming year. Apple seeds were placed on the fire to test relationships. So if the seeds popped and jumped together, the couple were destined to stay close. But if they leapt apart or burned quietly, it meant distance or unreturned affection. So I do encourage you to seek out an apple tree and to greet it as a doorway to the other world, and to listen to what wisdom may be offered by this abundant tree. Now, our next and final nature connection practice is a practice in which you can turn to nature as a mirror. And so in this, I encourage you to spend time wandering in nature. And as you do, call to something in your surroundings that reflects an aspect of yourself or an aspect of your life at this threshold time between this year and the next. And then once you've settled on a symbol or whatever it is in nature, you can then journal on what drew you to this symbol. What wisdom does it offer? What does it reflect back at you about where you are at this threshold time? And this practice allows nature to reveal to us deeper levels of our being, deeper layers as well. Now, the next practice is one for honoring the ancestors. And firstly, I invite you to do as has been done throughout the mists of time and lay an extra place for the well and wise ancestors at the table this Samhain. And when working with ancestors, it's important to always call upon your well and wise ancestors, to call to those that have transitioned out of their fully transitioned out of their human state with all of the complexities and shadow and beauty that holds, into their fully ancestralized place in which they are well and wise. And so you might like to create a seasonal and ancestral altar in your home, and you can decorate this with fallen leaves and nuts and aspects of nature that represent this phase in the seasonal cycle. And a practice that I've been doing is one in which you light 4 candles. The first is for your maternal ancestors, and the second is for your paternal ancestors. And with these candles lit, I invite you to send love and thanks, and if needs be, forgiveness. And ask the well and wise ancestors that all of their descendants, whether living or dead, may be at peace. And then I invite you to light a 3rd candle for the ancient and elemental ancestors, the air, the water, the earth, and the fire, which have all been here throughout time and make our lives possible. And you may also like to call on, with the 4th candle, the ancient ancestors of the land on which you stand. So those that lived in deep relationship and reciprocity with all of life. So in this, we are calling on the well and wise ancestors of blood and bone, the well and wise ancestors of the land and stone on which we live, and also the elemental ancestors. And you might like to include in that also the trees or whatever aspects of nature that feel like great elders and ancestors to you. And in thanking the human and more than human ancestors who have given us our lives, we can ask that we remember that we are just visitors here, that we are entitled to nothing, but are entrusted with the earth for the ones yet to come. Now, our final practice is a practice that allows us to use the wheel of the year to reflect on this threshold time. So, as we know, Samhain marks the end of one year and the beginning of another, and so it's a really potent time to reflect on the year that has passed. And a way of doing this is to consider how the energies of each of the 8 Earth festivals make themselves known in your life. And so you can ask yourself a series of questions, and I'll also post these beneath this video. So, in the past year, what were times of rest and receiving, i.e., what times carried the energies of the winter solstice? What were times of insights or subtle new beginnings, carried Imbolc energies? What were times of preparation and awakening, spring equinox energies? Times of action or blossoming, Beltane energies? Times of lightness or of shining bright, summer solstice energies? Times of harvesting the fruits of our efforts, Lammas energies? Times of release or of letting go, autumn equinox energies? And times of uncertainty and disruption or grief, Samhain energies? You can also link that to times of death and endings or ancestors. Now, Of course, the energies of the Earth festivals may not have presented themselves in the year past as at their corresponding time of year or chronologically as the seasons do. We may find ourselves going through a winter solstice time in our lives, and a kind of a period of deep rest, and then not long on after find that we have skipped to the energies of the summer solstice of lightness, shining bright, or extroversion. Um, and so it's likely that we journey through the energies of the Earth festivals more like we would a labyrinth than we would a circle. And so, having reflected on the year that has passed, we can then ask which Earth festival energies come more naturally to me. Um, so, you will look back on your questions, your answers, and that may be revealed to you. And then you can also ask yourself, which energies do I tend to neglect? So it may be that you neglect the deep rest of the winter solstice or celebrating the fruits of your labors, the kind of Lammas energies. You might be drawn to the energies of action, of Beltane, but tend to neglect rest and the winter solstice. You might receive many insights, energies of Imbolc, but rarely take the time to harvest and celebrate the fruits of your efforts like we're encouraged to do at Lammas. And now this practice of reflecting on the year past may help clarify your intentions for the year ahead. The one that begins at Samhain, or you may draw on what it is that you want to call into being in the year to come, in the cycle ahead. And so I invite you to journal on what are my intentions or intention for the year ahead. So I hope that these practices and reflections provide insight and illumination and deepen your relationship with Samhain and this incredibly potent season. May it be that the elders of the earth guide your steps, and the well and wise voices behind the veil whisper truth to your heart. May you be held by the past, grounded in the present, and reborn into the year ahead with clarity and grace. A blessed Samhain to you. And I'll end with a Shetland mourning song. So a song that was sung in the Shetlands as a way of grieving and lamenting and keening. Na hey, na hey, na hey, na hey, na. Na hey na hey na hey na na hey na hey na hey na hey na na hey na hey na hey na na hey na hey na hey na hey na na